I smoothed my dress for the 100th time, taking a deep breath as Ben's hand squeezed mine reassuringly. The imposing oak door loomed before us, a barrier between me and my future in-laws. This was it, the moment of truth. "Ready, sweetheart?" Ben's warm smile melted away some of my anxiety. I nodded, mustering a confident grin. "As I'll ever be." The door swung open, revealing a tall, distinguished man with Ben's kind eyes. "There you are," he exclaimed, pulling Ben into a bear hug. "And you must be Nora. Welcome, my dear." "Thank you, Mr. Harrison," I said, accepting his firm handshake. "Please call me Alan. Come in, come in. Patricia's been fussing all morning." We stepped into a pristine foyer that could have graced the pages of a home decor magazine. Everything was immaculate, from the polished hardwood floors to the crystal chandelier overhead. "Benjamin!" A sharp voice cut through the air. I turned to see a woman descending the staircase, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her posture ramrod straight. This had to be Patricia. "Hello, Mother," Ben said, his voice tightening almost imperceptibly. Patricia's eyes swept over me, assessing. "So this is Nora." I extended my hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Harrison." She barely touched my fingers before withdrawing. "Charmed, I'm sure. Well, don't just stand there. Let's move to the sitting room. I've prepared tea." As we followed her, I caught Ben's apologetic glance. I gave him a small smile, determined not to let his mother's chilly reception dampen my spirits. The sitting room was as immaculate as the foyer, with delicate china teacups already set out. We settled onto the plush sofas, the silence thick with unspoken expectations. "So, Nora," Patricia began, her voice syrupy sweet, "Ben tells us you're from, where was it again? Ohio?" "Indiana, actually," I corrected gently. "A small town outside of Indianapolis." "Ah, yes. How quaint." The way she said it made it sound like anything but. "And what is it you do, dear?" "I'm a pediatric nurse," I replied, my chin lifting slightly. "I've been working at Children's Hospital for the past 5 years. Patricia's eyebrows arched. "A nurse? How noble. Though I always thought Benjamin would end up with someone more ambitious. Perhaps a doctor?" "Mother," Ben warned, his jaw clenching. Alan cleared his throat. "I think it's wonderful, Nora. The world needs more caring people like you." I smiled gratefully at him. "Thank you, Alan." Yes, very admirable." Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "Now, Benjamin, have you given any more thought to joining your father's firm? A man in your position should be thinking about his future, especially with a wife to support." Ben's hand found mine, squeezing gently. "Actually, Mother, Nora and I are quite happy with our current careers. We support each other equally." Patricia's lips pursed as if she'd tasted something sour. "I see. Well, I suppose times are changing. Speaking of change, did you hear about Sarah?" The sudden shift in topic caught me off guard. I'd heard Ben mention his older sister, but I hadn't met her yet. "What about Sarah?" Ben asked, wariness creeping into his voice. Patricia leaned forward, her eyes glittering with barely concealed glee. "Well, it seems that her marriage to Mark has finally fallen apart. I always said he wasn't good enough for her." Alan shifted uncomfortably. "Patricia, perhaps this isn't the time." "Nonsense, Alan. Families should know these things." She turned back to us. It's such a shame, but then again, Sarah always did make questionable choices." The undercurrent of malice in Patricia's voice sent a chill down my spine. I glanced at Ben, seeing the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers gripped his teacup a little too tightly. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said carefully. "Is Sarah okay?" Patricia's gaze snapped to me, sharp and assessing. "Oh, I'm sure she'll manage. She always does, doesn't she, Benjamin? Though perhaps if she'd listened to me in the first place." As Patricia launched into what was clearly a well-rehearsed critique of her daughter's life choices, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just stepped into a minefield. What exactly had happened between Sarah and Mark? And why did I have the sinking feeling that Patricia had played a larger role in their divorce than she was letting on? The cafe bustled with the midday lunch crowd, but I barely noticed the noise. My mind was still reeling from the previous day's encounter with Patricia. I stirred my latte absently, waiting for Sarah to arrive. A tall, slender woman with Ben's warm eyes rushed in, her blonde hair wind-swept. "Nora, I'm so sorry I'm late." I stood, smiling. "Sarah, it's great to finally meet you." We hugged, and I immediately felt a kinship with Ben's sister. As we settled into our seats, Sarah's expression turned apologetic. "I heard about yesterday." I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. I waved off her concern. It wasn't your fault, but I have to admit, I'm curious about what happened with Mark. Your mother seemed almost gleeful about your divorce. Sarah's face darkened. Of course she was. She orchestrated the whole thing. My jaw dropped. What? Sarah leaned in, lowering her voice. Mom never approved of Mark. He wasn't from the right background, you see. She spent years trying to drive us apart. That's terrible. I gasped. What did she do? Little things at first, backhanded compliments, accidentally excluding him from family events, but then she started spreading rumors. Sarah's voice cracked. She told our entire social circle that Mark was cheating on me. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was he? Sarah shook her head vehemently. No, never. But the damage was done. Our friends, even some of Mark's colleagues, everyone looked at us differently. The constant suspicion, the whispers, it tore us apart. My mind raced, connecting the dots. And yesterday, when she brought it up, she was gloating, Sarah finished bitterly, and probably warning you. Warning me? I echoed, confused. Sarah reached across the table, gripping my hand. Nora, you need to be careful. Mom sees you as an outsider, just like Mark. She'll try to push you out, too. My stomach churned. But why? Ben and I love each other. We're happy. That doesn't matter to her, Sarah said, shaking her head. In her mind, Ben deserves someone from our world, old money, social connections. She won't stop until she gets her way. I straightened my spine, anger replacing my initial shock. Well, she's in for a fight. I'm not going anywhere. Sarah smiled sadly. I admire your spirit, but don't underestimate her. She's relentless. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ben. Mom's insisting on hosting an engagement party next week. I tried to talk her out of it, but she won't budge. I'm so sorry, love. I showed Sarah the message, watching her face pale. Oh, Nora, this is how it starts. What do you mean? The engagement party? It's not for you. It's for her to parade Ben in front of all her society friends' daughters. Sarah's voice was grim. She did the same thing to Mark and me. My head spun. But surely Ben wouldn't. Of course not, Sarah assured me quickly. Ben adores you. But Mom will use every trick in the book to make you look bad and push you away. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. Then I'll just have to be prepared. Sarah squeezed my hand. I'll help you. We'll face her together. As we left the cafe, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Patricia herself. Nora, dear, I do hope you have something suitable to wear for the engagement party. Perhaps we should go shopping? I know the most darling boutique. I stared at the message, my jaw clenching. The seemingly innocent offer was loaded with implications, that I wasn't good enough, that I needed her help to fit in. What is it? Sarah asked, noticing my expression. I showed her the text. It's starting, isn't it? Sarah nodded grimly. Welcome to the battlefield, Nora. Are you ready? I lifted my chin, a fire of determination burning in my chest. Bring it on. The bridal boutique was a sea of white lace and tulle, but I felt anything but serene. Patricia's voice grated on my nerves as she flitted from rack to rack, pulling out gowns that were more suited to her taste than mine. Oh, Nora, darling, she cooed, holding up a monstrosity of ruffles and beads. This would be perfect for you. It'll hide all those problem areas. I gritted my teeth, forcing a smile. Thank you, Patricia, but I was thinking of something simpler. She skipped, shaking her head. But, dear, this is your big day. You want to look like a princess, don't you? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ben. How's it going? Do you need a rescue? I smiled, typing back quickly. Not yet, but stay on standby. Nora? Patricia's sharp voice cut through my moment of relief. Who are you texting? It's rude to be on your phone when we're shopping for your wedding dress. I pocketed my phone, suppressing a sigh. Sorry, Patricia. It was just Ben checking in. Her eyes narrowed. Benjamin knows better than to interrupt important wedding preparations. I'll have to have a word with him about that. Alarm bells rang in my head. That's really not necessary. Nonsense, she waved me off. Now let's try on this lovely gown, shall we? An hour and several uncomfortable fittings later, I emerged from the dressing room in yet another dress I hated. Patricia clapped her hands in delight. Oh, it's perfect, she exclaimed. You almost look like you belong in our world. The backhanded compliment stung, but I held my tongue. Just then the boutique door chimed, and Sarah walked in, looking like a breath of fresh air. Sarah, I called out, relief flooding through me. "What are you doing here?" "I thought you might need some backup," she said with a wink before turning to her mother. "Hi, Mom. I hope you don't mind me crashing your shopping trip." Patricia's smile turned brittle. "Sarah, dear, how unexpected. I thought you were busy with work today." "I rearranged some things," Sarah said smoothly. She turned to me, her eyes widening in mock horror at the dress. "Oh, Nora, that's not you at all, is it?" I shook my head, grateful for the lifeline. "Not really, no." Not. Sarah linked her arm through mine. "Come on, let's find something that actually suits you." As we moved away from Patricia, I whispered, "Thank you." I was about to lose my mind. Sarah squeezed my arm. "I've been there. Don't let her bully you into something you don't want." We spent the next hour finding dresses that actually matched my style. Simple, elegant, and nothing like the overblown creations Patricia favored. When I finally stepped out in a sleek, off-the-shoulder gown, Sarah gasped. "Nora, you look stunning," she said, her eyes misting over. I turned to the mirror, my breath catching. For the first time that day, I felt like a bride. Patricia's lips were pressed into a thin line. "Well, it's different, but don't you think it's a bit plain for a Harrison wedding?" "I think it's perfect," a deep voice said from behind us. We all turned to see Ben standing in the doorway, his eyes locked on me with a look of pure adoration. "Benjamin!" Patricia sputtered. "What are you doing here? It's bad luck to see the bride in her dress before the wedding." Ben ignored her, crossing the room to take my hands in his. "You look beautiful, Nora. This is the one, isn't it?" I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. "Then this is the dress you'll wear," he said firmly, before turning to face his mother. "And Mom, I think it's time we had a talk about your behavior. This wedding is about Nora and me, not your social aspirations." Patricia's face flushed an angry red. "Benjamin, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm only trying to help." "No, Mom," Ben cut her off. "You're trying to control, just like you always do, and it stops now." As Ben led Patricia away for a private conversation, I exchanged a look with Sarah. The battle lines had been drawn, and for the first time, I felt like we might actually win this war. The aroma of roasting chicken filled our apartment as I put the finishing touches on the table setting. This dinner party was my chance to show Patricia that I could be the perfect hostess, despite my quaint Midwest upbringing. "Everything looks amazing, Nora," Ben said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You've outdone yourself." I leaned into his embrace, savoring the moment of calm before the storm. "I just hope your mother appreciates it." The doorbell rang, shattering our peace. Ben squeezed my hand reassuringly before going to answer it. Patricia swept in, her critical gaze taking in every detail of our home. "Well, isn't this cozy?" she said, her tone making it clear that cozy was not a compliment. Alan followed, offering me a warm smile and a bottle of wine. "The place looks lovely, Nora." As we settled around the dining table, I could feel Patricia's eyes on me, watching my every move. I took a deep breath and began serving the meal I'd spent hours preparing. "So, Nora," Patricia began, her voice syrupy sweet, "tell me about your family's traditions. I'm sure they must be so interesting." I smiled, determined not to let her get under my skin. "Well, we have a lot of wonderful traditions. Every summer, we—" "Oh, how quaint," Patricia interrupted, not even trying to hide her condescension. "I suppose that's what people do when they don't have access to more refined pastimes." Ben's fork clattered against his plate. "Mother, that's enough." But Patricia was on a roll. "I'm just trying to understand Nora's background, dear. After all, she'll need to learn how things are done in our circles if she's going to be a proper wife for you." My cheeks burned with a mix of anger and humiliation. "I assure you, Patricia, I'm quite capable of adapting to new situations." "Of course you are, dear," she patted my hand patronizingly. "But there's so much you don't know. The social obligations, the charity galas, the proper way to address people of certain standing. It's a lot to learn for someone from your background." "Mom, stop it," Ben growled, his patience clearly wearing thin. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "I appreciate your concern, Patricia, but I'm confident in my ability to navigate any social situation." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Really? Then perhaps you can explain the proper way to address a duchess at a formal event, or which fork to use for the fish course at a state dinner." "That's irrelevant," Ben interjected. "Nora doesn't need to know any of that." Oh, but she does, Patricia insisted. That unless you plan on embarrassing the family at every turn. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Enough, Patricia. I may not know which fork to use for fish, but I do know how to treat people with kindness and respect, something you seem to have forgotten. The room fell silent. Alan looked uncomfortable, while Ben stared at me with a mix of surprise and pride. Patricia's face flushed an angry red. How dare you speak to me like that, Benjamin? Are you going to let her disrespect me in this way? To my shock, Ben stood up and came to stand beside me. Actually, Mother, I think Nora's right. Your behavior tonight has been appalling. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I was only trying to help. No, you weren't, Ben said firmly. You were trying to belittle and intimidate Nora, and I won't stand for it anymore. Alan finally spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. Patricia, I think it's time we left. As Ben showed his parents out, I sank back into my chair, my hands shaking. What had I done? I'd just confronted my future mother-in-law, potentially ruining any chance of a peaceful family dynamic. Ben returned, kneeling beside me. Nora, I'm so sorry. I should have put a stop to her behavior long ago. I looked into his eyes, seeing nothing but love and support. What do we do now, Ben? I don't think I can keep pretending everything's okay. He took my hands in his expression serious. We don't. It's time we set some boundaries with my parents, even if it means distancing ourselves from them. My heart raced at the implications of his words. Are you sure? That's a big step. Ben nodded, his jaw set with determination. I'm sure. You're my family now, Nora, and I won't let anyone, not even my mother, treat you this way. As we held each other, I realized we were at a crossroads. The decision we made now would shape our future and our relationship with Ben's family forever. But looking into Ben's eyes, I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it together. The tension in the room was palpable as I sat between my parents and Ben, facing Patricia and Alan across the table. We'd decided to have a family dinner to discuss the wedding plans, but Patricia's behavior at our dinner party was still fresh in everyone's minds. My mother, usually the picture of Midwestern politeness, was uncharacteristically frosty towards Patricia. I must say, I was shocked to hear about your comments regarding Nora's background, she said, her voice tight. Patricia had the grace to look uncomfortable. I assure you, I meant no offense. I was merely concerned about Nora's ability to adapt to our way of life. Our way of life? My father's eyebrows shot up. And what exactly is wrong with the way we raised our daughter? Ben squeezed my hand under the table as I took a deep breath. Patricia, I understand you have concerns, but I assure you I'm more than capable of handling any social situation. Patricia's lips thinned. Oh, darling, you say that now, but you have no idea what you're getting into. The expectations, the scrutiny, it's not for the faint of heart. That's enough, Mother, Ben said, his voice sharp. Nora has shown nothing but grace and poise, despite your constant criticism. Alan cleared his throat. Perhaps we should focus on the wedding plans. Have you two decided on a venue yet? I latched onto the change of subject gratefully. Actually, we were thinking of having it at my family's lake house in Indiana. It's beautiful in the summer and... Indiana, Patricia interrupted, aghast. But darling, what about the country club? All our friends and connections will be expecting an invitation. Ben's jaw clenched. This isn't about your friends, Mom. It's about what Nora and I want. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Benjamin, you need to think about your future. The connections you make at events like this can be crucial for your career. My career is doing just fine without using my wedding as a networking opportunity, Ben snapped. The tension in the room ratcheted up another notch. I could see my parents exchanging worried glances, clearly uncomfortable with the family drama unfolding before them. I think, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, that Ben and I need to make these decisions for ourselves. We appreciate your input, Patricia, but ultimately, this is our wedding. Patricia's face flushed an angry red. You ungrateful girl. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By turning our son against us? Mom, Ben shouted, standing up so abruptly his chair toppled backward. That's enough. I won't let you speak to Nora that way anymore. The room fell silent, everyone stunned by Ben's outburst. I reached for his hand, trying to calm him, but he was trembling with anger. Ben, Alan said softly, "Son, please sit down. Let's discuss this calmly." But Ben shook his head. "No, Dad, I'm done discussing. I'm done trying to please you and Mom at the expense of my own happiness." He turned to me, his eyes softening. "Nora, I think we need to have a private conversation." Confused and a little scared, I nodded and followed him out of the dining room and into the kitchen. Behind us, I could hear Patricia's indignant sputtering and my parents' attempts to smooth things over. Once we were alone, Ben took both my hands in his. "Nora, I can't do this anymore. I can't watch my mother tear you down day after day." My heart raced. "What are you saying, Ben?" He took a deep breath. I think we need to consider cutting ties with my parents after the wedding, at least until they can learn to respect you, respect us." I gasped, the weight of his words hitting me like a ton of bricks. "Ben, that's a huge decision. Are you sure?" He nodded, his expression resolute. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You're my family now, Nora. You're my future, and I won't let anyone, not even my parents, jeopardize that." As I stared into Ben's determined eyes, I realized we were standing at a crossroads. The decision we made now would change everything. Our relationship with his family, our future, maybe even who we were as people. But as the sounds of argument drifted in from the dining room, I knew we had to make a choice. "Okay," I whispered, squeezing his hands. "If you're sure, then I'm with you. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Ben pulled me into a tight embrace, and as I buried my face in his chest, I wondered what storm we had just unleashed, and if we were truly ready to weather it. The cafe bustled around us, but Sarah and I might as well have been in our own little bubble. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands shaking as she clutched her coffee mug. "I can't believe Ben's really considering cutting ties with Mom and Dad," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "It's not an easy decision, Sarah, but after everything that's happened—" She nodded, a bitter smile twisting her lips. "Oh, I know. Believe me, I know better than anyone what Mom's capable of." A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean?" Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes darting around as if afraid Patricia might suddenly appear. "Remember how I told you Mom never approved of Mark?" I nodded, leaning in. "Well, it was more than just disapproval. She orchestrated our entire divorce." My jaw dropped. "What? How?" Sarah's voice cracked as she spoke. She started spreading rumors. Told everyone that Mark was cheating on me with his secretary. It wasn't true, of course, but people believed her. Our friends, our colleagues, suddenly everyone was looking at us differently. I felt sick to my stomach. "That's horrible, Sarah. I'm so sorry." She waved off my sympathy. "It gets worse. She hired someone to Photoshop images of Mark with other women, sent them to me anonymously. I was devastated, confused. I confronted Mark, and he had no idea what I was talking about. By the time we figured out what was happening, the damage was done. Our trust was shattered." My mind reeled, trying to process the depths of Patricia's cruelty. But why would she do that? Sarah's eyes met mine, filled with a mixture of pain and warning. Because Mark wasn't from the right background, because he threatened her idea of what our family should be. And Nora, she's planning to do the same thing to you. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "What?" "I overheard her on the phone," Sarah said, her voice urgent. "She was talking to one of her society friends, saying how she was going to take care of the Nora problem, just like she did with Mark. She's planning something, Nora. Something big." My heart raced, panic rising in my throat. "We have to tell Ben. We have to." "Tell me what?" We both jumped as Ben appeared at our table, his brow furrowed in concern. Sarah and I exchanged a look, and I knew we couldn't hide this from him. Taking a deep breath, I recounted everything Sarah had just told me. Ben's face grew darker with each word, his hands clenching into fists. When I finished, he was trembling with barely contained rage. "I'll kill her," he growled. "I'll fucking kill her." "Ben, no," I said, grabbing his arm. "We can't stoop to her level." "Then what do we do?" he demanded. "Just sit back and let her destroy our relationship like she did Sarah's?" Sarah spoke up, her voice stronger now. "We fight back, we expose her for who she really is." Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number containing a single image. My blood ran cold as I opened it. It was a photo of me, clearly doctored, in an intimate embrace with a man who wasn't Ben. The accompanying message read, "Such a shame. I wonder what Ben will think when he sees this." My hands shook as I showed Ben and Sarah the message. Ben's face went pale, then flushed with anger. "That's it," he said, his voice deadly calm. "We're done. We're cutting them out completely." "Ben?" I started, but he cut me off. "No, Nora. This ends now. We're getting married in 2 weeks, and my parents won't be there. We'll start our new life without their toxic influence." As Ben pulled out his phone, presumably to call his parents, I exchanged a worried glance with Sarah. This was it, the point of no return. Whatever happened next would change all of our lives forever. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the storm that was about to break. We'd made our choice. Now we had to live with the consequences. The morning of my wedding day dawned bright and clear, but the knot in my stomach had nothing to do with pre-wedding jitters. Ben and I had made our decision. His parents wouldn't be attending. The peace of the last 2 weeks had been hard-won. But now, as I stood in my childhood bedroom, staring at my reflection in my wedding gown, I couldn't shake the feeling that the other shoe was about to drop. Sarah burst into the room, her bridesmaid dress swishing around her legs. "Nora, you look beautiful." Her smile faltered as she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Nothing, just nerves, I guess." Sarah squeezed my hand. "Hey, it's going to be okay. Ben loves you, and that's all that matters." Just then, my phone rang. The caller ID made my blood run cold. Patricia. Sarah's eyes widened. "You don't have to answer that." But I knew I did. With trembling fingers, I picked up the phone. "Hello? Nora, darling." Patricia's voice was syrupy sweet, a stark contrast to her usual clipped tones. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." I swallowed hard. "Patricia, it's my wedding day. What do you want?" "Oh, I know, dear. That's why I'm calling. Alan and well, we've been doing some thinking. We realize we may have been a bit harsh in our judgments." My heart raced. Was this really happening? I don't know what to say. "Say you'll tell us where the ceremony is being held. We'd like to be there to support you and Benjamin." For a moment, hope fluttered in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, things could be different. But then I remembered the doctored photo, the cruel words, the pain in Sarah's eyes as she recounted her divorce. "I'm sorry, Patricia," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "But Ben and I have made our decision. The wedding is family only, and, well, you're not invited." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. "Now, you listen here, you ungrateful little—" I ended the call, my hands shaking. Sarah looked at me, her face a mixture of pride and concern. "You did the right thing, Nora." Before I could respond, there was a commotion downstairs. We rushed to the window to see Patricia's sleek black car pulling up in front of the house. "Oh no," Sarah whispered. She wouldn't. But we both knew she would. Patricia emerged from the car, Alan trailing behind her, looking uncomfortable. "We have to warn Ben," I said, panic rising in my throat. Sarah nodded, already typing furiously on her phone. "I'll tell him. You stay here. Don't let her see you in your dress." I paced the room, my heart pounding as I heard raised voices downstairs. My parents, Ben, Sarah, all trying to reason with Patricia. Suddenly, the door burst open. Patricia stood there, her face flushed with anger. "How dare you exclude us from our own son's wedding?" I straightened my spine, meeting her gaze. "Patricia, please, this is supposed to be a happy day." "Happy?" she spat. "You've turned my son against me. You've ruined everything." "No, Mom." Ben's voice came from behind her. He stepped into the room, his eyes locked on mine. "You did that all on your own." Patricia whirled to face him. "Benjamin, you can't be serious. This girl isn't right for you. She'll never fit into our world." Ben's jaw clenched. "Then maybe it's time I found a new world, one that includes Nora and excludes your toxicity." Patricia's face crumpled, tears welling in her eyes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. But then I remembered everything she'd done, everything she'd tried to do. "Patricia," I said softly, "I think it's time for you to leave." She looked at me, then at Ben, her eyes wild. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You'll see. You'll both see what a mistake you're making." As Alan gently led Patricia away, I sagged against Ben, the weight of everything finally hitting me. "Are we doing the right thing?" I whispered. Ben tilted my chin up, his eyes filled with love and determination. "Absolutely. Now, what do you say we go get married?" As we walked hand in hand towards our future, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. The war with Patricia might not be over, but today, Love had won the battle. The shrill ring of my phone pierced the peaceful morning air of our honeymoon suite. Ben stirred beside me, but I quickly silenced it, recognizing the number. Patricia, again. For a moment I considered ignoring it, as I had for the past week, but something inside me snapped. Enough was enough. "Hello, Patricia," I answered, my voice steady. "Nora, darling," she cooed, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "I hope I'm not interrupting your little getaway." I sat up straighter, steeling myself. "What do you want, Patricia?" "Oh, I just thought we should chat woman to woman. You see, I've been thinking about our little misunderstanding." I almost laughed. "Misunderstanding? Is that what you call trying to sabotage our relationship?" Now, she'd skied. "Let's not dwell on the past. I'm willing to let bygones be bygones if you are. All you need to do is convince Benjamin to reconcile with us. After all, family is everything, isn't it?" The audacity of her request made my blood boil. "Family? You tried to destroy your own daughter's marriage. You sent fake photos to break us up. That's not family, Patricia. That's manipulation." "You ungrateful little," she started, but I cut her off. "No, you listen to me now," I said, my voice low and firm. "I've had enough of your games, your insults, your thinly veiled contempt for my quaint Midwestern background." "Well, You never what? Never thought I'd stand up to you? Never imagined I might have a backbone?" I took a deep breath, years of pent-up frustration pouring out. "You know what, Patricia? I may be from the Midwest, but my family's company is one of the largest agricultural suppliers in the country. That little lake house where we got married? It's part of a 500-acre estate that's been in my family for generations." There was stunned silence on the other end of the line. "But you know what?" I continued. "None of that matters. What matters is that Ben and I love each other. We support each other, and we don't need your approval or your toxic presence in our lives." You can't just cut us out," Patricia sputtered. "We're his parents." "You're right, you are his parents, but that doesn't give you the right to control his life or belittle his choices. Ben has made his decision, and I stand by him. If you ever want to be part of our lives again, you need to take a long, hard look at your behavior and make some serious changes." I could hear Patricia's ragged breathing on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, her voice was small, almost broken. I don't know how. For a moment, I felt a flicker of pity. "Start by apologizing. To Ben, to Sarah, to Mark. Seek therapy. Learn to respect boundaries. It won't be easy, but if you truly want to be part of our lives, that's what it will take." There was a long pause. I'll think about it," she finally said, before hanging up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Ben stirred beside me, his eyes full of concern and love. "Was that my mother?" he asked softly. I nodded, recounting the conversation. When I finished, Ben pulled me into a tight embrace. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "You stood your ground, but you also left the door open. That's more than she deserves." I leaned into his warmth, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. "Do you think she'll change?" Ben sighed. "I don't know, but what I do know is that we're stronger together. Whatever happens, we'll face it as a team." As we lay there, the morning sun streaming through the windows, I realized that this was the true happy ending. Not a fairy tale where all conflicts magically resolve, but a real, messy, beautiful life where we choose each other every day. Patricia might never change. She might never be the mother-in-law I'd hoped for. But that was okay, because I had Ben and Sarah and a whole new family that accepted and loved me for who I was. And in the end, that was all that mattered.
My name is Karen, and at 32 years old, I find myself reflecting on the transformative events of the past few months. 6 months ago, I faced a heart-wrenching loss with the passing of my grandfather, who had been my steadfast guardian and mentor throughout my life. Today is a significant day, as the lawyer is scheduled to reveal the details of my grandfather's will, a moment that feels both heavy and hopeful. Seeking comfort during this emotional time, I am grateful for the presence of my sister Helen, who is 3 years older than me. We share a bond forged in adversity, having lost our parents in a devastating accident 22 years ago. Since that tragic day, our grandparents have taken us under their wings, showering us with love and guidance. However, our family felt the sting of loss again when our grandmother died from an illness, leaving us in the caring but increasingly fragile hands of our grandfather. His health declined over the years, and out of deep concern, I moved into an apartment close to his home to ensure I could visit him regularly. Despite my frequent visits, he would often chide me playfully, claiming it was unbecoming for a grown woman to keep returning to her childhood home. Nonetheless, he always greeted me with a smile, his warmth undiminished by the trials of age. Then during a routine visit, a dire turn of events unfolded. I found my grandfather in severe pain at his doorstep. Frantically, I called for an ambulance, but despite the swift response, he passed away suddenly. Today, as the hour of the will reading approaches, Helen's voice cuts through my contemplation, reminding me to brew some tea for the occasion. As I make my way to the kitchen, I catch a glimpse of her relaxing on the mat, the familiar scent of her strong perfume filling the air, a reminder of her unchanging nature and the continuity of our shared past. I remember my sister Helen's teenage years vividly. She was the epitome of rebellion, experimenting with vibrant hair colors, and mingling with a crowd that our grandparents deemed troublesome. Despite the headaches she caused, necessitating frequent apologies from our grandparents, Helen seemed untouched by the disapproval, living her life with a carefree zest. Even as an adult, she maintained that free-spirited approach, working only part-time and often relying on our grandfather for financial support. Today, as the lawyer arrived to read our grandfather's will, I prepared tea to serve. Helen offered a formal greeting that filled the room, acknowledging the gravity of the moment. The lawyer, with his gentle demeanor reminding me of grandfather, accepted the tea and began to disclose the contents of the will. The document revealed that Helen was to inherit a staggering $30 million, while I bequeathed our family home and the land it stood on. Upon learning about her fortune, Helen burst into laughter, a reaction that left me standing in silent astonishment at the unexpected disparity in our inheritances. While Helen received a literal fortune in cold hard cash, I was left with what appeared to be nothing more than an ancient rundown house. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me, and I couldn't help but chuckle quietly at the stark contrast in our fortunes. "How fitting for someone as plain as you," Helen teased, her laughter still resonating through the room. I tried to defend the value of my inheritance by pointing out the considerable size of the land that came with the house. "It's not just the house, there's also the land," I countered. Helen snorted dismissively at my comment. The potential value of the land in such a remote, seemingly forgotten place clearly didn't escape her, yet her preference was clear. "I would have preferred the cash," she remarked with a smirk, clearly pleased with her lot. The complexity of our inheritances mirrored the differences in our personalities and choices, adding a layer of bittersweet humor to the whole ordeal. Reflecting on the distribution of my grandfather's will, I couldn't help but feel a tinge of disappointment mixed with surprise. "I guess Grandpa really had a soft spot for me," I said, trying to mask the uncertainty in my voice. I reasoned with myself that perhaps he intended for me to preserve the cherished family home and land, a place rich with memories of him and my grandmother. "That's pretty awesome, isn't it?" remarked my boyfriend Alex, catching me off guard with his reaction as I relayed the details of my inheritance. However, his enthusiasm didn't quite resonate with me. I shook my head, implying that the reality wasn't as rosy as it seemed. As I shared the story, a sense of hollowness washed over me. Voicing the situation felt almost like confirming a sort of perceived lesser value. Trying to lighten the atmosphere, Alex made a rather thoughtless comment about the benefits of beauty and wealth. I gave him a sidelong glance, a silent reprimand for his tactlessness. Realizing his faux pas, he quickly shifted gears, joking about valuing my comfort more than material gains. Alex and I had been together since meeting at a social event, and today marked our first casual outing as a couple. Discussing the inheritance made me ponder the future, even imagining him as a potential husband. Little did I know this revelation would soon lead to an unexpected twist of regret. A few days later, as I entered the old family house to start the overwhelming job of sorting through my grandfather's possessions, I considered the idea of moving in. Its close proximity to my workplace made it an attractive option. Maybe I could really make a life here, even with a cat, I mused. The lack of rent was alluring, and I figured any maintenance costs could be managed with my savings. The thought of sharing this space with Alex even made me blush, embarrassed by my forward thinking. Rolling up my sleeves to begin cleaning, my contemplation was abruptly interrupted by the ringing of my smartphone. Glancing at the display, I saw my sister's name flash across the screen, hinting at more unexpected developments in what was shaping up to be a series of surprising events. "Hello, Karen. How are you faring in that quaint old house of yours?" she inquired, her tone laced with curiosity and a hint of irony. "I hoped you were finding some peace in being alone," I quipped, but it seemed my sister was indulging in a different kind of solace, one marked by rounds of drinks. Her speech always had a tendency to be languid and drawn out, but today it was noticeably more slurred as she spoke. As she continued, her words meandered with an alcohol-tinged flair, highlighting her afternoon choice of beverage, which I couldn't help but sigh at. "Miss Goody Two-Shoes," she echoed dramatically, playfully branding me with her usual nickname. It became obvious that her mirth stemmed from more than just liquor when she asked about my plans for the future. I hesitantly shared my thoughts about possibly moving into our family home, hoping to change the subject. Instead, she took this as an opportunity to flaunt her current luxurious surroundings in a posh hotel suite, her voice dripping with exaggerated zest. She then teasingly challenged me to guess who might be accompanying her, treating my ignorance with disdain. She provocatively suggested that my reserved attitude might compromise my relationship with someone named Alex. To my shock, Alex himself joined the conversation, leaving me reeling and filled with confusion. As Alex's familiar voice came through, a flood of troubling thoughts overwhelmed me. The sudden revelation of my sister's connection with him sketched a troubling image in my mind, one that had me feeling dizzied and unsettled. She went on to boast about capturing Alex's attention, narrating how she had learned of his workplace from me, approached him after work, and charmed him. Her words poured out boastfully, leaving me stunned and silent. Her subsequent apologies did little to soothe the emotional turmoil I felt. When Alex spoke again to explain his side, a chill swept over me, draining my spirit as he admitted his attraction to my sister seemed more appealing and opportune, deepening my sense of betrayal. Trying to express my feelings amidst this chaos was nearly impossible. As I grappled with the shock and hurt of the moment, I found myself utterly speechless. Alex tried to rationalize his behavior, almost pleading with me to grasp the seductive appeal of a woman possessing significant wealth. I felt a deep recoil at his words, the sting of rejection and humiliation sharp and sudden. In the background, my sister's laughter, unreasonably loud and triumphant, punctuated the chaos she had wrought. As the phone was handed back to her, she delivered a statement with such finality it fell like a physical blow, announcing the end of our sisterly bond. Her words hung heavy in the air, the concept of sisterhood now just shattered fragments of a once treasured relationship. Over the next 6 years, solitude and heartache became my close companions. Now, as I sat with a cat peacefully dozing on my lap, the memories of that devastating phone call remained vividly etched in my mind. The room was filled with the soft hum of the cat purring in its sleep, a comforting sound on my day off. Yet there was a lingering sense of guilt about some unfinished work I had brought home. As I mulled over my to-do list, the tranquility was broken by the ring of my phone, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. Assuming it might be work-related, I answered without suspicion. "Hello," I greeted, only to hear a voice that was unmistakably familiar. "Karen, long time no see," said my sister Helen, her unique speech patterns instantly recognizable despite the years. A smirk formed on my face as I acknowledged her, and as our conversation unfolded, Helen began prying into my personal life, inquiring about a new hotel near my home. I chose to keep the details to myself, deflecting her questions. The conversation took a surprising turn when Helen confessed her financial woes, revealing that she had blown through her entire inheritance in just 4 years. Even Alex, who had remained by her side, was now in debt. As I listened to Helen's request for a loan, my initial annoyance faded into a profound sense of detachment. I responded with calm, bringing up the consequences of her actions in the past, which prompted a flood of memories from 6 years ago, the day Alex ended our relationship. Devastated, I found comfort in an old painting I had given to my grandfather as a child. During a moment of introspection, I discovered a hidden note behind the painting, a letter addressed to me from my grandfather, written shortly before his death. In the letter, my grandfather explained the reasons behind the seemingly uneven distribution of his estate, emphasizing his deep appreciation for my constant care and presence in his final years. This revelation brought clarity to any lingering questions about favoritism and provided much-needed closure. It reassured me about my grandfather's intention, confirming that the distribution was a testament to the enduring bonds within our family and highlighting the true significance behind his decisions. As I digested the contents of the letter, a shiver ran down my spine at the realization that I could have easily missed this crucial message. Despite the clarity it brought, I still found myself deeply hurt by Helen's cruel words from that time. Although I had a strong connection with my grandfather, a twinge of jealousy lingered as I continued to read. Helen, it seemed, was not satisfied with a simple share of the inheritance. Her greed was pervasive, extending even to her role as a granddaughter. The letter starkly illuminated her actions, how she had not only squandered her inheritance, but also manipulated situations to her benefit, including taking Alex away from me. This acknowledgement from my grandfather, though painful, was a necessary insight into the dynamics that had long influenced our family's interactions. Feeling a duty to my grandfather's intentions, I had arranged to meet with Alex to discuss the inheritance. My grandfather's will had been crafted thoughtfully, seemingly granting Helen the larger share at first glance. However, a hidden detail in his letter revealed more. The land I received was expected to grow significantly in value due to urban development nearby. As I read through the letter, my eyes widened with surprise. Grandpa had suggested I could either live on the land if I felt emotionally attached to it, or sell it for a substantial profit when its value increased. His main wish was for my happiness. When I shared this revelation with Helen, she scoffed disdainfully and dismissively called me an old hag. Despite her reaction, I decided to heed our grandfather's advice. I lived in the house for a while, and once I was married and the land's value had risen sufficiently, I sold it. When Helen later approached me for a loan, I firmly told her I wouldn't lend her any money. In her frustration, she audaciously offered to return Alex to me as a bargaining chip. That was the last straw. I unleashed years of pent-up frustration, telling Helen how much her ingratitude repulsed me. I disowned her as my sister, making it clear I was already happily married and had no desire to see Alex again. I ended the conversation, blocked her calls, and apologized to my cat for the emotional upheaval. Unwilling to let go, Helen and Alex mistakenly stormed into what they thought was still my house, causing havoc. The police were called as they destroyed several items. It was then revealed during their questioning that they had previously committed marriage fraud to extract money. Both were arrested and faced charges that could lead to prison time. This final incident underscored the toxic dynamics that had escalated over the years, affirming my decision to cut ties and move on from the destructive relationship with my sister. Having successfully proven my lack of involvement after selling the land and severing ties with Helen, my husband came to pick me up from the police station. As we navigated the bustling corridors, we saw Helen and Alex, both looking distraught and barely recognizable, being escorted to another part of the facility. A wave of melancholy washed over me, seeing how far things had deteriorated, but the warmth of my husband's presence offered a comforting contrast. As we stepped outside into the crisp air, my husband's concerned gaze met mine. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice laden with worry. I responded with a reassuring smile and placed his hand on my belly, feeling the gentle kick of our unborn child. "I have you and our baby right here," I said, the words not just a reassurance to him, but a reminder to myself of the new priorities in my life. The ride home was quiet, but filled with an unspoken understanding and comfort. We didn't need to discuss what had just transpired. We were both just relieved to be moving past the chaos. As we drove, I looked out the window, watching the scenery blur past, and reflected on the tumultuous events that had unfolded over the years. It dawned on me how life had thrown such unexpected challenges my way. And yet here I was, with a partner who stood by me and a new life blossoming inside me. The stark contrast between my current state of peace and the turmoil of the past highlighted a profound truth about the human experience. Adversity is not just about the hardships themselves, but what we choose to carry forward from them. The ordeal with Helen and Alex was painful and fraught with betrayal, yet it also served as a pivotal point for me to reassess what truly mattered. It wasn't the monetary value of the inheritance that held weight. It was the lessons of love, resilience, and forgiveness that I would take away from the experience. As we arrived home, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the stability and love that awaited me. Stepping through the door, my husband and I were greeted by the quiet comfort of our living space, a stark contrast to the stark and sterile environment of the police station. It was in this sanctuary that we would prepare for the arrival of our child, in a home filled with love and devoid of the shadows of the past. Over the next few months, as my belly grew and the baby's kicks become stronger, I often found myself thinking about the kind of world I wanted our child to inherit. It was a world where love and integrity stood at the forefront, where family was about support and understanding, not conflict and greed. I realized that teaching our child about these values started with how I lived my own life. The decision to let go of bitterness and focus on building a nurturing environment was not just for my own peace, but was a foundational step in crafting the legacy I would leave for the next generation. As I moved forward, every step felt lighter, each day brighter, with my husband by my side and the future ahead. I looked forward to the days when we could teach our child about the true essence of wealth. It wasn't measured in dollars and property, but in the moments of laughter shared, the hugs exchanged, and the unconditional love that bound us together. It came to light after our marriage that my in-laws were $100,000 in debt. For some reason, it became my responsibility to repay their debt. I tried to endure it for the sake of my family, but then I found out I can't forgive them. They were just having fun behind my back, planning to use me to repay their debts. From that moment on, I put a plan into action to avenge my husband and my in-laws, who would be rejoicing that the debt is fully repaid 5 years later into hell. My name is Mary. I lost my mother at an early age and lived with my father, but he passed away a few years ago. The one who cheered me up when I was down after becoming alone was my old friend. It was through this friend that I met my husband, David. I met David at a bar where I went out for drinks with my old friend after a long time, and we ended up drinking together. He had just been dumped by his girlfriend at the time and was complaining about it over drinks. No, I'm lonely. Is this really how my life should be? The one who heard that and proposed enthusiastically was my friend. Mary is single right now, isn't she? Why don't you guys date? My friend, who was being playful, made David and I exchange contact information and even set up the next date. It felt somewhat forced, but she seemed to know that David was actually my type, as expected of a friend who has known me for so long. I was a little excited about the date with David that she had set up. In conclusion, I had a great time with him. It didn't feel like our first date at all. After that, we went on dates almost every week. When I first met you, David, it was right after you broke up with your ex. Why did you break up with her? Well, it's an old story. Now I have you, Mary. David is kind and fun to talk to. I wondered why his ex dumped him, but at that time, I didn't think too much about it. About 6 months into our relationship, David proposed to me. There's no reason for me to refuse. I happily chose to become his wife. While I was being nervous, I went to his parents' house to greet them and my in-laws welcomed me. Mary, you work at a major company, don't you? That's amazing. Hi, yes. Are you planning to continue working after you get married? Yes, that's the plan. If both of you work, you'll have more financial flexibility, and I think that's good. My mother-in-law, a full-time homemaker, surprisingly supported my career. I was relieved as I thought I would be told to quit my job and take care of the house. David also agreed to continue working after we got married. Thus, without any particular trouble with my in-laws, our married life began. We purchased a house under my name, and just when we were about to start our new life, David came to me with a serious look and said he has something to talk about. Actually, my parents are in debt. What? I had never heard such a story before. Debt? How much? At first, it wasn't much, but as it got delayed, the debt grew bigger and bigger. He said, while bracing himself, "Just tell me, how much is the debt?" "About $100,000. That much? Even if they wanted to repay it, my parents live on their pensions, right? They can't repay it as much as they like, and the debt is just growing. I see. Mary, you mentioned before we got married that there's some inheritance from your father, right? To be frank, how much is it? A conversation was taking a bad turn. Could it be? Unfortunately, my suspicion was correct. David asked if it was possible to repay his parents' debt with the inheritance I received from my father. Why do I have to? We even have a mortgage on our house. Even if we keep repaying little by little, we'll never see the end. What about your savings, David? I don't have any savings. But before we got married, you said you have savings when I told you that I have some savings, right? I was just trying to match with what you were saying then, Mary. The truth is, I have 0 savings. That's why only you can pay it off, David stubbornly pleaded with me. Although it's quite unreasonable, we indeed can't ignore the debt. The problem was that I didn't have $100,000 in savings. My savings are only the $70,000 I received as an inheritance. What will we do about the rest? We have quite a bit of leeway with both of us working, right? And Mary, you often work overtime, so I want you to use that overtime to pay the debt. In other words, he wants to put all the money I received from my father and the money I earned through hard work towards repaying the debt. Looking at him, it seems there's no other way except for me to help. Fortunately, the total amount from the inheritance and my salary is not an unpayable amount. I reluctantly agreed to his request. Later, my in-laws rushed to our house. "Mary, you're going to help repay the debt. Thank you so much." My mother-in-law was overjoyed and crying. David responded proudly, "Mom, you should be grateful to me too. If I hadn't married Mary, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly like this." "Yes, indeed. I thought you were a good wife from the first time I met you." David's judgment was correct. My father-in-law was also overjoyed, hugging David. "Well done, David. Now we can walk around without trembling at the thought of debt collectors. We can finally eat out. Shall we celebrate with steak?" Agreed. Looking at my cheerful husband and in-laws, I was dumbfounded. Eating out for steak while having debts, and they're not even the one repaying the debts. David, noticing my dumbfounded expression, finally cautioned them, "Hey, calm down, Mom and Dad. It's because you two spend money without thinking that the debt keeps increasing, right? Despite being big spenders, you can't even calculate." When David said that mockingly, my mother-in-law huffed and argued back, "Oh, you're the same, aren't you, David?" "Huh, why me?" "You've always been showy, David. Whenever you had a girl you liked, you'd go into debt just to take her on dates or buy her presents. It's no wonder you got dumped when they found out you had no money." What the hell? I learned from my past mistakes and married Mary without spending a dime. Smart move, right? Well, I'll admit that did help. Now it makes sense. The reason why David was quiet about why his ex-girlfriend dumped him was because of that. Listening to David and my in-laws' conversation, it seems like he married me for my money, which makes me sick. Even about the debt repayment, it's like that my mother-in-law continued. David has always been like that. Whenever he's got a girl he likes, he starts spending money left and right. It's pretty obvious. Hearing that, I realized something. Lately, he's been frequently withdrawing money from our joint account. Could it be? Disregarding my suspicions, David, as if he had a brilliant idea, spoke. "Mary, you've been transferring money to my family every month, right? But since everyone in my family is bad at managing money, can you repay the debt directly from now on?" What? As I was baffled by his absurd proposal, my in-laws celebrated cheerfully. "That's a good idea. Here you go, Mary. This is the account number for the transfer." My mother-in-law handed me the account number for the transfer while I was still speechless. "So how much can you repay each month, and how many years will it take to repay it all?" As I responded to my mother-in-law, who was asking as if it was none of her business, I felt a bit irritated. Firstly, I'll put the $70,000 from the inheritance towards the debt repayment. So the remaining amount is $30,000, right? If it's $30,000, I think I can transfer about $8,000 to $9,000 per month and repay it in 5 years. 5 years, huh? I guess it can't be helped if it takes that long. And that's how I started gradually repaying my in-laws' debt. Firstly, I'll repay the debt with $70,000 from the inheritance as immediate payment. This should ease the debt collectors from coming back for a while. But that's when I found out my husband was having an affair behind my back. No wonder he was spending a lot, and it was getting out of hand. I won't stand for him having fun by himself. If he's doing that, then I'll take countermeasures as well. In 5 years, I hope that you'll be panicking about what's going to happen. For the next 5 years, until the debt was fully paid, I decided to handle all communications with the debt collectors, letting my husband and in-laws live as they always had. This was all for the sake of my plan that I was carrying out behind their backs. I can't wait to see their surprised faces 5 years from now. And then one day 5 years later, David was looking at the bank book. As expected of you, Mary, you've been making the payments on the dot every month, and the remaining $30,000 is all paid off. Yes, so it seems. I'm really grateful to you. Anyway, I actually have something important to tell you. Something important? I want us to break up, David said with a serious face. You know the saying, when the money runs out, the relationship ends. Actually, there's a girl I want to be with. Once you and I break up, she's going to move in here, so I want you to go to my parents' house. What's that supposed to mean? I immediately lashed back at him. Wait a minute, why do I have to go to your parents' house? She hates complicated things like dealing with in-laws. My dad and mom are as careless with money as ever, so it would be easier for you to manage them if you lived together, right? You said you want to break up, right? Even then, you expect me to take care of your parents. That's just absurd, no matter how you look at it. My parents rely on you completely. Now that it's come to this, you should take care of them till the end. Besides, if they get into debt again, it'll be a hassle for you to pay it back, won't it? My husband, who had left the repayment of the debt to me and had been enjoying an affair behind my back. But it wasn't just that. Even after the divorce, he planned to leave his parents to me so that he could live with his lover. That's absolutely unforgivable. I won't let that happen. I'm sick and tired of David's selfishness. Barely controlling my anger, I tried to respond calmly. I fully agree with the divorce. How I see it's good that you're an understanding woman. But the one who's leaving is you. Huh? What are you talking about? This is my house. No, it's not. Have you forgotten that when we bought this place, I paid all the down payment from my savings, and the name on the agreement was mine, right? Was it really like that? You said at that time, I don't want the property under my name because I don't want to be forced to repay the mortgage if anything happens. I should have felt that something didn't feel right back then when you said that. If I had noticed your incompetence from the start, I wouldn't have had to go around in such circles. Well, whatever. You're broke, so I'll give you the house to live in out of pity. Broke? Yeah, right. You've used all your inheritance for paying off the debt, and you've been transferring all of your salary over. So you have zero savings, right? I do have savings. Huh. There's no way, right? I just checked your transfer history. At these words, David froze for a moment, then screamed out in a panic. Wait a minute. What do you mean, separate account? He checked the bank book in a rush. Only then did David realize that the account I have been transferring to every month was a different one than the debt repayment account. Then what about my parents' debt? Of course, it remains as it is. You were leaving all the dealings with the debt collectors to me, so you didn't notice what I've been doing at all. Upon hearing this, David turned pale. You've been deceiving me all along. Deceiving? Aren't you doing the same thing? What do you mean? You've been cheating on me behind my back, haven't you? At these words, David flinched. When did I ever cheat? You know better, don't you? I noticed 5 years ago, though. 5 years ago. That day, I felt uneasy about the conversation between you and your mother. You have always been one to spend money when you have a girl you like. I noticed then that you were starting to splurge. But that's unbelievable. Thinking that might be the case, I carefully observed you and saw you with women everywhere. When I was convinced you were cheating, I decided to move all the money, which was supposed to be used for debt repayment, into a separate account to secure my own living expenses after divorcing you, David. After learning the truth, David was left in a daze for a while. All right, I need to contact my dad right away. David immediately contacted his parents, and they rushed to our house. Perhaps they already knew what was happening as they came at me with gray fury. "Mary, what do you mean you haven't been repaying the debt?" I responded in a cool tone to my father-in-law, who was shouting with anger. Why should I repay the debt of someone who's going to become a stranger to me? Besides, there's no way I could hand over my salary to a husband who betrayed me, is there? Stranger? Betrayed? What are you talking about? My father-in-law had a look on his face as if he couldn't understand what was going on. I didn't miss the flustered look on my mother-in-law's face next to him. You understand what I'm talking about, don't you, mother-in-law? What? There's no point in playing dumb. It was you, mother-in-law, who told me about the signs that David has a new woman he's in love with. There's no way you wouldn't notice about his affair, right? That's not only money, but your sense of ethics is also careless, isn't it, mother-in-law? How rude. I just want my David to be happy. David's happiness, huh? You are a monster who tramples on my happiness by making me repay your debt and wishes for your son's happiness. At those words, my mother-in-law fell awkwardly silent. My father-in-law then apologized to me. Mary, I'm truly sorry for what my son has done. Can't you cheer up? The money you only moved to a separate account to get back at David, right? After telling me that my father-in-law scolded David. What on earth are you doing, David? To cheat on such a good wife with another woman. Apologize sincerely and ask Mary for forgiveness. And hurry up and use the money in the account to repay the debt. I sighed to myself. After all, nothing about these people has changed since 5 years ago. Ultimately, all they think about is their debt being repaid. No matter how much you apologize, I have no intention of forgiving you. I have no intention of being a part of your family either. It seems like he wants to divorce quickly and be with his new lover. So why don't you try to mooch everything off her the next time? At those words, David, unable to bear it any longer, shouted, I can't let her do that. Hearing that, I completely lost my temper. So it's okay to let me do it, but not her. Who do you think I am? You always listen to what I say, but she's selfish. And it's a hassle when she throws a fit. I see, I certainly have been too obedient to you. I have my regrets too, so from now on, I will do as I please. First, I will claim the damages you've done to our married life with your affair, and the $70,000 from my father's inheritance that I used to pay off the debt. I will make sure you return it all. Then David and his parents suddenly started panicking. Wait a minute. You know I don't have any savings, right? There's no way I can afford to pay you for the damages. That's not my problem. Why don't you ask your mistress to help with the payments? But I will also be claiming damages from her too. Even to her. If I do that, she might break up with me. Oh wow. How shallow could your relationship be with her? You're saying that she has been with someone else's husband without any commitment. Mary, please reconsider. His father joined him in. Mary, I beg you as well. We won't be able to survive if we have to go back to living with debt. At that, I exaggeratedly shrugged my shoulders. That's right, with just the remaining $30,000 in debt repayment, you two are already at your limit, aren't you? So we don't have to return the $70,000 from the inheritance. Yes, I'll stop complaining from you too. They sighed in relief, and David looked at me. But then withdraw the damages from me too. If you're giving up on the inheritance, give up on the damages you're claiming too, huh? What are you talking about? I have no intention of giving up on reclaiming my precious father's inheritance. But you said you won't claim the $70,000. Yes, from your parents. Instead, I'll add a reimbursement of $70,000 to the damages I'm claiming from you. No, you're joking, right? You have no heart. I'll say that back right to you. You took my father's inheritance and were having an affair behind my back. No decent person would do such a thing. Mary, I beg you, shut up. I don't want to see your face ever again. From now on, we will communicate through a lawyer. Goodbye. I yelled at David and stormed out of the house. With that, I headed straight for a law firm and told them everything that had happened. A month later, with the help of my lawyer, I completed the divorce and procedures to claim for damages, and was finally able to cut ties with David and his parents. I didn't get all the money, but we reached an agreement that David would pay considerably more than usual. David, who had no savings, was deeply in debt, as was his family. But that seems like an appropriate end for them. Thanks to forcing separate account transfers for these 5 years, I was able to save money at a rather high pace, with the damages fee as well. For now, I can treat myself to delicious meals and do what I love. Once I'm refreshed, I feel like I'll be able to start anew and work hard again. A useless person who can't even walk has no place in our house. Haha, how can you do such a thing? The mother-in-law pushed me in my wheelchair down a staircase with more than 10 steps. Thanks to my quick reflexes, I avoided major injuries. She did not help me and just laughed at my plight. You're just unemployed. Why don't you just get a divorce quickly? All right, I understand. The mother-in-law doesn't know that I earn an annual salary of $200,000. What kind of future awaits me as I leave this house? And then the mother-in-law brings up her son. Also, I'll be taking the grandchild with me. Haha, I won't let you do that. As if you could take care of a child properly. I resolved to protect my son at all costs. I couldn't hand him over to such a devil-like person, and so I decided on revenge. I'd rather leave this house even without being told to. A month after leaving the house, I received numerous calls from the mother-in-law. She might have finally realized the gravity of the situation, but it was already too late. My name is Emily, and I just turned 45 last month. I live with my husband and our 5-year-old son. I met my husband John at a party of a mutual acquaintance when I was 35. Wow, Emily, you work as a fashion designer. That's pretty cool. Not at all. I still have a long way to go. Haha, that's not true. I was not very good at socializing, so I probably stood out in that setting. He kindly spoke to me, probably out of concern. My impression of him at that time was of a caring and sincere person. Recently, my parents have been nagging me to be independent. Haha, you live with your parents, right? Yeah, but they're saying I'm old enough and should live alone. Then why don't you come to my place? At that time, we weren't officially dating yet. Even now, I wonder why I said that. It just came out naturally like breathing. Maybe I was drawn to his somewhat unreliable and childlike aspects. And so we started dating. At the same time as we began living together, I heard this. If we have a child, my dad will give us money. What? What do you mean? I don't really understand either, like a celebration gift maybe. But well, to be honest, I didn't have much desire to marry or have children, and I thought it might be difficult because of my age. However, my husband was optimistic and quite excited about the idea of getting money. By this time, we had been dating for 4 years, and I was about to turn 40. You're kidding. I was holding my head in the bathroom. I was also optimistic. It seems I'm pregnant. Really? That's great. Then we've got to get married. Haha, yeah, we should. Reluctantly, I discovered my pregnancy on my 40th birthday, and soon after, we got married. At this time, my work was stable, and I thought about devoting my time to the child that was about to be born. However, this would lead to a drastic change in my husband's attitude. During the pregnancy, he seemed no different from before. "But you've done well, huh? Is something wrong?" As soon as my husband saw our newborn son, he muttered something unbelievable. "Is he really my child?" "What? What are you talking about?" Everyone in the room froze for a moment at his unexpected words. "He doesn't look like me at all, does he?" "You can't tell such things right after birth, can you?" "Well, whatever, I'm going back to work for now." Saying that, my husband left the hospital room without looking back. I couldn't accept his words at all. And then my husband hardly got involved in child rearing, and time just passed by. Before I knew it, our son Aaron was celebrating his 3rd birthday. "Where's Daddy?" "He's working late today, so it's just you and me for this celebration, okay." Last year, he did celebrate his birthday, but it felt like he was just fulfilling an obligation. And this year, he's saying he has to work overtime. I even doubted whether it was really overtime. Since then, my son and I have been spending a modest but happy time together. And I'm home, I hear the sound of the entrance door opening. "You're welcome back." "Huh, was there something special today?" "Today is Aaron's 3rd birthday." I answer with a stronger tone. "Ah, I forgot," saying that my husband tries to go to his room, but I stop him. "Shouldn't you at least say happy birthday?" "Why?" My husband's expression suddenly became cloudy. "It's your son's birthday, so it's only natural." "I'm tired from working overtime. I'm going to sleep now." "Wait a minute." In the end, my husband went to his room without saying a word to our son. I was angry, of course, but more than that, I was worried about our son. When I hesitantly looked at my son, he seemed carefree despite being only 3 years old. "It's okay, Mom," my son smiled, though I could see something like tears in his eyes. From then on, I stopped expecting anything from my husband. After putting my son to bed, I was slumped on the sofa alone when my husband came in with a strangely happy face. "I forgot to tell you, but I got $6,000 from my dad as a congratulatory gift for the birth the other day." "What? When?" "About 2 days ago, I think." "So how about we go on a trip with that money?" "That's quite sudden." "It's fine, once in a while, right?" I didn't understand what he was thinking, but I accepted his proposal, thinking it might make my son happy. And then on the day of the trip we were supposed to go on, a resort hotel, we had only been out of the house for about 10 minutes. "Sorry, but I have to cancel today's trip." "I don't understand. Aaron was looking forward to it today, you know." "Stop nagging, can't be helped, right? My boss invited me to golf. You should have declined that." "Huh, someone who can't even properly do housework or childcare shouldn't be talking so big." My husband, somehow infuriated, was driving while looking at his smartphone. "Please don't drive while looking at your phone." And I'm replying right now, "Just be quiet for a bit." And then, in the next moment, it happened. Our car drifted into the oncoming lane. At the moment, I thought we were going to crash. I instinctively turned my body towards the back seat to protect Aaron. Then with the impact, I lost consciousness. "Emily, are you okay?" I woke up to the sound of my name being called. Standing there was my mother-in-law. "Where am I?" "What are you saying?" "You're in the hospital, of course." I've remembered something else important. "Aaron, how's my son?" Then the mother-in-law answered with a sly smile. "He's fine, just some scratches, it seems." "That's a relief," I sighed. And relief, however, the mother-in-law suddenly became confrontational. Relief? John has broken bones, you know. And it's your fault, isn't it? What? What do you mean? According to John, you suddenly interfered, causing the accident. I didn't do anything like that. I felt anger at my husband's false testimony and tried to get up. However, I couldn't muster any strength. While I could move my arms, my lower body was completely immobile. Is something wrong? Haha. The mother-in-law, knowing my condition, was smirking. Do you know something, mother-in-law? Who knows? I don't. Haha. Well, see you. I was suddenly overwhelmed with a cold sweat. I asked the doctor who came in after my mother-in-law left. The answer I received was beyond my worst fears. Will I be like this forever? Unfortunately, the chances of recovery are almost zero, so I'll be in a wheelchair for life. Isn't there a way to walk again? There is rehabilitation, but it doesn't guarantee you'll be able to walk again. Everything went dark before my eyes, and I couldn't think of anything. I spent over a month in the hospital before being discharged. During that time, my son was left at my mother-in-law's house. My husband never came to visit me. Thank you for coming today. It really helped. No problem. I'd come right away if you're in trouble, Emily. You're about the only one who would say that, haha. But your husband is not coming at all. Well, I kind of expected that. I returned home with the help of my junior colleague, Julia. Now that I needed care, I was fortunate to have my parents' barrier-free house. I thought I could manage living there starting tomorrow. Mom will live here too. Why? Why do you care? I can't do it alone. Mom offered. Be grateful. Even so, it's so sudden. Don't complain. Now you're truly useless. You have no right to complain, haha. That's when the real help began. What? This house? It's big but so old. Everywhere, please take care of me from now on. Oh, were you there? I didn't notice, haha. Well, I'll be taking care of you from now on, so you should be grateful. My mother-in-law, who claimed she would take care of me, hardly did anything to help. As I continued living like this, I managed to take care of myself to some extent. Seeing this, my mother-in-law became even more oppressive. If you can do so much, maybe I'm not needed. Please do everything on your own from now on. But I can't do everything. Please help me a little. Why should I do that? Haha. You can't work, and you're not useful. I am working, though. That's just your delusion, right? Haha. Then I started taking on design work again, which I had paused due to my leave of absence. I couldn't stay silent after what she said. Sometimes I was accused of just playing around, but I ignored it all and focused on my work. Thankfully, my work began to be recognized. Your recent design has been really well received, and the one you designed for wheelchair users was considered innovative. Everyone at the office is talking about it. Really, I was just thinking about what I could do in my current situation, and it came to me. Just a fluke, haha. Even if it was a fluke, it's amazing. And now there's a magazine that wants to interview you, Emily. My junior colleague, Julia, seemed even more excited than me. It felt good to have my work appreciated. I continued to release new designs as if inspired by a divine force. With each high rating, my income kept increasing. However, my husband came sniffing around when he got wind of this. I hear your work's been going well recently. You're making quite a bit, aren't you? Not particularly. Don't lie, I know. From then on, my husband began to ask me for money. This went on for about half a year. I quit my job, haha. What? Why would you do that? Because it's stupid to work hard when I see you earning easily. Well, that's the situation, so take care of me, okay? Wait a minute. Oh, and don't tell Mom about this. Why? Can't you understand? If you do, it'll ruin my standing." I didn't press any further. I was too dismayed to find any more words to say. It was absurd to do such things just for his cheap pride. It was during this time of exasperation. "The weather is nice today. How about going for a walk?" My mother-in-law suddenly suggested this. A walk. But I have things I need to do today. It's not anything important. Come on, let's go. She forcibly pushed my wheelchair and took me out for a walk. I had never gone for a walk with my mother-in-law before, so I had a bad feeling about it. "Where are we going?" "A nice place." "That's enough, let's go back." "That's not possible." She seemed unusually desperate. It seemed like she was heading to a park on a hill nearby. In the neighborhood, my mother-in-law was also breathing heavily, probably due to her age. Here we are. Nice view, isn't it? It is, but I couldn't believe she brought me here just to see this view. Just as I was thinking this, I saw stairs in front of me. Then I felt a strong impact from behind, as if the wheelchair was about to fall. The wheelchair ran towards the stairs and tumbled down forcefully. The scene of the previous traffic accident flashed in my mind. I managed to protect myself instinctively. However, my legs wouldn't move. I faced up the stairs, a useless person who can't even walk. Has no place in our house, haha. How can you do such a thing? My mother-in-law didn't help me lying on the ground, but just laughed at me. She was like a villain from a story. "You're just unemployed. Why don't you just get a divorce quickly?" With those words, I understood everything, but there was no need to go this far. All right, I understand. She didn't know that the unemployed person she mocked was actually earning $200,000. She had no idea what future awaited her. As I would leave, and then she brought up my son also. "I'll be taking your son Aaron with me, haha." "I won't let you do that. I will raise Aaron." "You can't possibly take care of a child in your condition." After saying that, I couldn't see my mother-in-law anymore. I couldn't hand over my precious son to such a devil-like person. And so I decided on revenge. I'd rather leave this house even without being told to. Realizing I couldn't get up on my own, I called someone for help. "Emily, what's wrong?" "Sorry for the sudden call. I need some help." "Understood. Where are you?" I explained what my mother-in-law did and my current location. 10 minutes later, she arrived by car. "Are you okay?" "I somehow dragged myself here, haha, but I'm really exhausted now." I had managed to crawl to a nearby bench. Seems I really hated it, haha. This is no laughing matter. For now, I'll take you to my house. Thus, I stayed at Julia's house without returning to my own. My concern was about my son Aaron. Fortunately, it was still only 2:00 p.m. in the afternoon. I asked Julia to pick him up from kindergarten. "Mom?" "Aaron, I have something important to talk about. I'm thinking of living separately from Dad. Who do you want to live with?" "I want to be with Mom." I don't know how I would have coped if he had chosen his father, but thankfully that worry was unfounded. I decided to divorce. Of course, my husband called. This was also expected. "Hey, where are you? I need money, so give it to me quickly." "Sorry, but from now on, you'll have to manage on your own." "What? What do you mean?" "Just as I said, your mother kicked me out. I've reached my limit too, so I'm divorcing you." "Hey, wait." A month after leaving the house, I received a call. It seemed to be from my mother-in-law. Thinking she finally called, I answered. "What have you done?" "What do you mean?" "There are workers at the house." "Oh, I asked them to come. After all, that house is mine, haha." "What?" She sounded quite angry, but I ignored her and continued. Isn't that great? You didn't like the old house, right? Oh, and have you heard from my husband? What about him? He's currently unemployed, haha. What do you mean? John's unemployed. Wasn't he working? He hasn't been working for a long time now. All the money we've been using was from me. I thought you were unemployed. Of course not. Shall I tell you how much I earn? The mother-in-law's voice, now lacking its earlier bravado, trembled. $200,000. $200,000. That can't be true. You don't have to believe it, haha. We won't be involved with each other anymore. I immediately hung up the phone and blocked her number. I never wanted to hear her voice again. Just hearing it made my blood boil. They will regret for the rest of their lives for letting go of someone like me. Just imagining their faces filled with despair gives me the will to live. Even if I can't walk, eventually I managed to divorce my husband. The mother-in-law, upon learning the truth, demanded an explanation from him. And then he called. What? Hey, help me out. You seem to be mistaken. But we are strangers now. Handle your own problems. We lived together all this time. I don't recall someone who never cared for his child, or did as he pleased, haha. Send my regards to your mother. Of course, I blocked him as well. My dealings with them were over, but I had plans for the mother-in-law. What she did to me was nothing short of criminal. She might not know what judgment awaits her, but she'll likely spend nights trembling in fear. Meanwhile, Julia said to me, if you move, call me, and I'll be there anytime, like last time. Just kidding, haha. Yes, of course. Really? Then I'm counting on you. Leave it to me. I moved to a new place with my son, Aaron. And perhaps due to the hard rehabilitation, I've started to regain some sensation in my legs. Little by little, it might still take time before I can walk again, but I won't give up. After all, I have my precious son with me. My husband, Larry, will inherit the house, the $5 million, and the director position. When Julie heard a lawyer was there for Kyle's inheritance proceedings, she couldn't hide her joy. She walked into the living room like she owned the place. Julie, who always asked about the inheritance, and if it was done yet, must have been eagerly waiting for this day. Ignoring me, she went straight to the lawyer. The old me would have told her off, but as Julie turned her back to me, I couldn't wait to hear what she'd say next. Her greedy comments were even worse than I expected, and I laughed out loud, holding my stomach. The lawyer looked stunned, and I kept laughing at Julie's boldness. Julie didn't think it was funny and gave me a cold look. Do you really think you'll get your father-in-law's inheritance? I laughed at her obsession with money and her dramatic attitude, pointing to the late-arriving Larry. She raised her voice. The right to inherit belongs to my husband, Larry. I took a deep breath, ready to tell her the truth. My name is Lauren, and I am 62 years old. I have been a full-time housewife, supporting my doctor husband, Kyle, for a long time. Even after becoming a director, he always kept working, never tired. Larry grew up watching his father and decided to follow the same path. I believe my husband had a happy and fulfilling life. However, my husband passed away at the age of 65. He was passionate about his work and believed being a doctor was his calling. Maybe his sudden death was due to overworking, but at his funeral, I felt he had no regrets. Not just his superiors and colleagues, but also subordinates and others came to the funeral. The venue was packed with people mourning him. It wasn't just medical professionals who attended. Many patients he had treated in the past came to pay their respects. I didn't know exactly how he worked since I only saw Kyle going to and from his job every day. But seeing how much he was loved reassured me that he had done the right things in his life. At the summer funeral, Julie, the eldest son's wife, seemed restless and out of place. Her face relaxed almost as if she was happy about her father-in-law's death. My suspicions were confirmed when I overheard her talking with relatives. My father-in-law was always working. I think he might have saved quite a lot since he probably didn't have much time to spend money, she said. Hearing such a statement right behind me, I couldn't believe my ears. Despite being in the middle of a funeral, Julie seemed more concerned about how her father-in-law's inheritance would be divided. Perhaps she didn't know that a daughter-in-law might not have any inheritance rights. Even so, her behavior wasn't appropriate for the funeral. Seeing her actions, Larry, the eldest son, apologized to me with a guilty look. "Mom, I'm truly sorry." No matter how many times I tell her, Julie doesn't listen. "It's not your fault, Larry. But if you feel that way, can you please firmly warn her? Many people are attending this event." I knew about Julie's behavior even before Larry mentioned it. Remembering her inexcusable attitude, I recalled how she didn't help at all while I was busy with my husband's funeral preparations. She didn't offer me any words of comfort or sympathy. To make matters worse, she was always talking about the money, asking things like, "Your husband had quite an inheritance, right? How much was it? Even if you're his wife, it's his inheritance, so don't waste it. Okay. Did you come here just to say that? Is that all you have to say? Well, yeah. If you squander it just because you don't have long to live, I'll be in trouble." Anger and disbelief flooded over me as Julie spoke, as if my late husband's assets belonged to her. Moreover, she always looked down on me and was sarcastic. I don't know why she dislikes me so much, but her comments about other people's assets have often left me disheartened. My son Larry was inspired by his father and became a doctor. Larry's earnings are not bad, but Julie has always been overly obsessed with money. She'd often call me saying things like, "I'm worried about our future with Larry's low income," or "we're short on money," hinting that she wanted financial help. Because of this, getting along with her was very challenging. I used to let things slide, but now she's targeting my husband's inheritance, and I've reached my limit. Larry's income is really unstable, so we don't have much money to spend freely. "Oh, really? Why don't you work then? That would help with the household expenses, and you could afford some luxuries." "What? It's ridiculous for a doctor's wife to work. You're lucky since your husband earned well, and you could live comfortably." No matter how many times I tried to advise her, her attitude only worsened, and our arguments became more heated. She wouldn't even hesitate to belittle her own husband, Larry, just to look down on me. From her perspective, I'm her mother-in-law, but once married, we're family. I couldn't stand the way she treated family members with such disrespect. Thanks to my husband, I've been able to live comfortably. If she wanted the same, maybe she should respect and support her husband a bit more. If there was something about Larry to respect, then maybe. Anyway, I'm off to get my nails done and have a spa day. Don't forget about the inheritance, okay? By now, she just blurted out whatever she wanted and promptly left the house. Given her stormy behavior, I began to wonder how Larry was treated at home. But her self-centered actions didn't end there. During the inheritance proceedings, she continued her bad behavior, which became increasingly intolerable. Even after the funeral was over, every time she visited, she'd greet me with, "How's the inheritance coming along?" It felt like a standard greeting. Despite explaining several times that the process takes time, she either forgets or doesn't understand, and constantly pressures me whenever she sees me. I've told her multiple times that she has no rights to the inheritance, but she just doesn't seem to get it. Whether she believes Larry's money is hers or has some other scheme in mind, She seems convinced she'll inherit a fortune. After discussing with Larry, or rather manipulating the conversation to her advantage, she probably intends to get a share of the inheritance. If that was all, it would be a family matter for Larry to handle, but her actions affect everyone involved, making the situation much more complicated and stressful. I shouldn't interfere, but Julie tried to steal valuable things from our house. Julie, what are you doing? That's my necklace. Oh, come on, don't be so stingy. We're family, so it's okay, right? I can't be friends with someone who would steal from me. Fine, then I'll take it as an advance on the inheritance. That's okay, right? I am being patient here. No matter how many times. I told her not to act like that, but she wouldn't listen to me. From the moment she took my cherished necklace, a gift from my husband, I couldn't stand it. After that, I never opened the door for her again, even though Larry frequently messaged, saying, "Mom, I'm truly sorry for Julie." I couldn't stop her. I gave up expecting anything from Larry or Julie. I didn't even have time to grieve the loss of the necklace, as her harassment continued. She badmouthed me to her friends and others, calling me the worst mother-in-law who won't even let her in the house. The neighbors would say, "It looks tough," with a smile, but they showed concern. I don't understand why she hates me so much. It gives me a headache. What hurt the most was a letter I found in our mailbox. I felt disgusted just by seeing the already opened envelope. When I checked its contents, it was addressed to Larry and his wife. Whether it's Julie's idea of harassment because I won't let her in, her credit card bill was in our mailbox. Seeing the statement filled with extravagant expenses from luxury restaurants and online shopping made my blood run cold. "Larry, there's a credit card bill for Julie in our mailbox." It was already opened and checked. What's the meaning of this? I have no idea. It seems like she is spending a lot. She always talks about her income to me. Is everything okay? Well, it's actually tough, Mom. I'm sorry to ask, but could you pay for it? Wanting to complain, I contacted Larry. However, whether under Julie's influence or due to the power dynamics in his household, he said something unbelievable, leaving me speechless. I wondered why I needed to help them. Why would he even think I'd assist them? He can even retrieve the cherished necklace from his wife. What is he even saying? I also harshly criticized his behavior, which seemed to only remember things convenient for him. I've already done my part in supporting you as a parent. Why would an adult like you burden their parents and ask for help? Well, we have Dad's inheritance, right? You won't be able to use it all by yourself. Please, I thought you'd help. There's a saying about a thief acting brazenly after committing theft, and now I get it. Larry, you and Julie are really a match made in heaven. I'm cutting ties. Stay away from me. I could tell from the other end of the phone that he wasn't taking what I was saying seriously. I was so furious with his attitude. After hanging up, I immediately threw the bill into the trash. The idea that Julie might have deliberately put it in our mailbox, assuming I'd pay, was unbelievable. Most of all, it was an inconceivable act and made me question her as a person. Do you think I haven't thought about it? Is there really a way to get the inheritance, Kyle? What should I do? I asked for my husband's photo, picking it up unconsciously from my anger and disappointment towards Larry and Julie. I've lost understanding of how to handle my emotions. Is it really okay to proceed with the inheritance as it is amidst my insecurities? I somehow gathered courage. I hope someday they get what they deserve. Frustrated by their appalling behavior, I dealt with the inheritance proceedings alone. Perhaps my feelings got through, as I found out my husband had left a will, and in it, something was written. After reading the will my husband left behind, I resolved to protect myself and get back at them. I'm glad it seems Kyle was on my side after all. "Thank you," I whispered, holding back tears and pressing the will to my chest. I regained my composure. I clenched my fist, deciding I wouldn't just do nothing and let those two dictate things. I decided to wait for the right moment to make a big move against them. Maybe because I felt relieved at the thought of being able to retaliate for all the suffering, I completely forgot about Julie's bill. I would have thrown it away from the start, not intending to pay, but she must have received a reminder this time. I received a message from her, even though I had told her the inheritance proceedings were not yet completed. There were false accusations that I wanted to control everything. Her words seemed to attack me. "It's because you haven't settled the inheritance yet." "I'll wait a little longer, but please do it as soon as possible. Oh, by the way, you saw the bill I left in the mailbox, right? Please make that payment." "What are you talking about? Stop joking. Why do you think you're entitled to the inheritance?" "Oh, come on, Larry is the eldest son, right? It's only natural for him to get an inheritance, isn't it?" Do they think I know nothing? Larry has a right to inherit because he's the eldest son. In general, this is not incorrect. Even after Julie said all this, I still haven't told them the important thing. Even if I don't tell them, it's their own problem, and they should naturally know about it. But for them, who only think conveniently, it might be hard to realize. I'm waiting for the perfect moment when they fall apart. Watching for the right timing, and finally that time came. It was when I had explained the situation to the lawyer, and after the proceedings were finished with his cooperation, I finalized the plan. I will contact Larry when the procedure is complete. After discussing with the lawyer, to me, it's just a routine communication. But as expected, Julie came to my house with a face filled with joy. I deliberately left the front door unlocked, without any suspicion. She opened the door and stomped in. Seeing her, I could hardly hold back my laughter. I've been waiting for so long. Isn't it terrible? You've been reluctant to complete the procedure and won't give up the inheritance. Julie, what brings you here? Is this gentleman the lawyer? I am Julie. Larry's wife, ignoring me completely, headed straight to the lawyer sitting in front of me. Normally, I would reprimand her for such rude behavior, but this time I held back and waited. She turned her back on me, ignoring me, and approached the lawyer. I was excited to hear what she would say next. "Finally, we will inherit this house, $5 million, and the director's position because Larry is the eldest son," she said. Her greedy remark was more than I expected, and I laughed out loud, holding my stomach. The audacity of her and the lawyer's stunned face made it even funnier, and I kept laughing. Of course, Julie didn't find the situation amusing and glared at me coldly. Hey, what's so funny? Are you upset that we are taking the inheritance?" "No, why $5 million? How did you come up with that amount? Come on, your husband worked as a doctor for a long time, right? He probably didn't have time to spend money. It's obvious that there's that much money, unless you have already used it." I genuinely laughed at her obsession with money. Whatever I choose to do with my inheritance is my business, and you have no right to complain. However, it seems she doesn't like the idea of me inheriting. How many times have I told you, since you don't have much longer to live, don't do anything reckless? Even if you're related by marriage, it's quite something to say that to me, your elder. Didn't I tell you that you have no right to inherit? Julie, wearing the necklace she stole from me, glared at me sharply. I have no intention of letting her take anything more precious from me. I made up my mind not to lose to her, who is self-centered, greedy, and obsessed with money. I clenched my fist, pointing to the late-arriving Larry. Julie exclaimed loudly, "The right to inherit belongs to my husband." Larry, taking a deep breath, I decided to tell them the truth. "You see, there shouldn't be any inheritance for you two to claim, Larry." "Isn't that right?" "Huh? Why, Mom? What do you mean?" "Oh, don't you have any idea? Aren't you forgetting something?" "Wait, are you talking about that issue? It was resolved a long time ago, wasn't it?" "Duh, what are you even talking about? Truly disappointing. What have you made amends for? What's resolved? Don't talk nonsense." "Wait a minute, what are you talking about?" I was taken aback by her demeanor, as if she had completely forgotten or knew nothing about the issue, even though it was a situation she caused. It seemed she couldn't remember it. I decided to explain the situation in detail for them to understand. Larry had married Julie a few years back. However, before that, he was already married to another woman and had a child with her. Despite having a family, he neglected them to have an affair with Julie. After their affair, Larry and Julie got married. The truth came out when Larry came begging Kyle, unable to pay alimony and child support on his own. "Larry, what were you thinking? I never thought you would stoop this low." "I had no other choice if I wanted to marry Julie." "What are you saying? You're the one who committed the wrongdoing. Even if you are my son, don't expect me to pay for your mistakes." "Larry, take responsibility and sort it out. Why, you can help me a bit as a doctor. You are constantly working and don't have time to spend money, so you must have some to spare, right?" Larry's audacious remark pushed my husband's anger to its peak. When Larry started making excuses about being overwhelmed with new life and needing money for their wedding, my husband decided to cast aside his feelings as a parent and choose his grandchild instead. "Fine, I'll pay on your behalf. There's no need for my grandchild to suffer because of a terrible father like you." "Dad, don't say it in such a sarcastic way. I'm your son, you know." "Exactly, that's the point. And in exchange, I won't support you in any way from now on. And of course, don't expect to inherit a single thing from me." Larry probably thought that my husband's words were just declarations made in the heat of the moment. But my husband believed that someone who abandons their family doesn't deserve to be celebrated. He neither attended the wedding nor offered any support. "Dad, just let it go. In the future, you'll rely on us for care, right? We are family, so try to compromise a bit." "No way. Why would I bother with someone like you?" Knowing that his father had money, Larry had previously mentioned the need for future care and requested support. However, my husband didn't listen to Larry's words. And as he declared, he made sure it was written in his will. It clearly stated that everything should go to his wife and grandchild. My husband, with his strict personality, had meticulously written and prepared the will to ensure that not even a small amount of money would go to Larry and his wife. This fact became known when my husband's lawyer showed the will during the funeral proceedings. He said he had received the will from my husband in advance. Remembering the anger at that time brings up emotions, but I deeply thanked my husband for his foresight and protection. My husband left a will stating that even though Larry is his son, he does not have the right to inherit his father's estate. When the lawyer read the contents of the will, Larry and Julie were shocked. I decided to add insult to injury. "Oh, by the way, Julie, you took things from our house, right? You said it was like an advance on the inheritance, but you heard the will the lawyer read, right? You have no rights, so give it back. It was a gift from my husband to me." I pointed to the necklace she was wearing. She threw the necklace at me with a visibly angry attitude, clicking her tongue and glaring at me. Probably because the lawyer was present, she couldn't say anything reckless. "I didn't hear about this. I thought I'd finally get my father-in-law's inheritance." I came all the way here today. What's going on? Really? When you announced your marriage, you said being pursued meant you were more attractive, so it was inevitable, right? You knew what you were getting into when you got with him, while he already had a family. I remembered how furious I was at her attitude back then. I used to think Larry was deceived by such a terrible woman, but now I realize they are a perfectly matched couple. I will definitely inherit. Oh, there is the hospital. It would be troublesome if the director was absent, right? This kind of succession is usually done by the son. Too bad it's already been handed over to a competent subordinate. Huh. Why isn't it normal for the son to take over? Haha, to begin with, you're doing something that's not normal, right? It's your own doing. Realize that you're not the norm. She was desperate for the inheritance, whether it be the hospital or the house. In the end, she clung to the lawyer, asking, "Then what can I get?" But the lawyer my husband had contracted wouldn't easily tell her. He repeatedly explained the contents of the will, stating, "The two of you have no inheritance rights," and responded calmly, "This is unbelievable. I don't believe it. It must be a mistake." Really, no matter how much you fuss, nothing will change. Even if you sue, you'll just end up embarrassed. If you're okay with that, feel free to do so. Perhaps finding my cold treatment unbearable, she stormed out of the house with a face as red as a boiled octopus. I watched her leave with Larry. I held the necklace and quietly pumped my fist in triumph. After that, she never contacted me or visited the house again, and the inheritance procedures were completed smoothly. I was worried they would confront Larry's ex-wife, who has a grandchild, but Larry, who doesn't even pay child support, wouldn't know her contact details, so there were no issues. Larry and Julie, who didn't get any inheritance, seemed to be having a big quarrel. Julie told Larry, "I married you thinking I would get a big inheritance from your father, and they are apparently on the brink of divorce." The saying, "end of money, end of love," fits them perfectly. I only received one contact from Larry saying, "Give me the money or house you inherited," but I naturally ignored it. I exclaimed, "Don't talk nonsense while you're awake," and hung up the phone. I sighed, wondering where I went wrong raising my son, but there was also good news. A letter arrived from Larry's ex-wife, stating that the inheritance procedures were completed. In it, along with an update, there was a photo of my cute grandchild and words of gratitude. "Thank you for being such wonderful grandparents," it said. They are living very happily now. The grandchild my husband had been concerned about until the end is growing up healthy and living happily with her new father. There was also a lovely family photo in the letter, and although I felt guilty as a parent, my mood was brightened and my heart warmed. I was very happy and immediately read the letter in front of my husband's altar to report to him. I was continuously disappointed by Larry's actions and words. However, I was able to report to my husband about the grandchild, which always brought a smile to his face, and I was happy and satisfied.